Hi friends, welcome to VTeach. Today in this video we are going to discuss about the addresses in the target code in the code generation phase. Coming to these addresses in the target code, so generally our memory space is partitioned into code area and data area, as we have already discussed about this concept. So generally we will keep all your program instructions in the code memory. So all your programs that will be stored or the code that will be stored into the area that is called the code memory. So whatever the statically determined area is the code memory area. The function of this code area is it holds the executable target code and the size of this target code that is determined at compile time. So whatever the program you are working on, that the target code of that it will be known at the compile time. So this is why we are calling it as a statically determined area is the code memory. Similarly, we are having the second memory area that is called the data area. Generally, we will keep all your variables that will be stored into the area that is called the data area. So for our convenience, the data area is subdivided into three other parts. The first one is called the first data area is called the static area. It is also a statically determined data area. What is the function of this static memory area? Which holds global constants and other data generated by the compiler. What do you mean by global constants? So whatever the variables, for example, in the main program, if you have declared int a comma b, this is what we are calling it as the global area. For example, if you are also having one more function, you are having function here in which you are using int c. The C variable is a local variable to the function, and whereas int variables are the global variables. These global variables can be called by the function, but the local variable cannot be used by the main program. So these type of global constants that will be stored into the static area. So here coming to this, the size of the global constants and compiler data can also be determined at the compile time. So here, because the target code and the corresponding global constants and other data generated by the compiler, they are known at the compile time. So that's why we are calling it as a statically determined area. But while the program is executing, so here some dynamic memory allocation needs to be allocated. So here there are two dynamically managed areas. One is called the heap and second is called the stack. So what is heap? It holds data objects that are allocated and freed during program execution. While the program is executing, dynamically it will allocate the memory and freed whenever it is not required. That is what we are calling it as the heap area. This is the dynamical managed area. Why we are calling it as dynamically? Because the size of the heap cannot be determined at compile time. So it will be known, the size of this one, it will be known at runtime only, but not at the compile time. So that type of data, it will be stored into the heap memory location. There is one more dynamically managed stack area that is called the stack area. So here it holds the activation records. They are created and destroyed during procedure calls and returns. So while the program is executing, the program, sometimes it has to switch from main program to the subprogram. So here, while it is switching from main program to subprogram, after completion of the subprogram, it has to return back to the main program. While it is returning to the main program, it has to start from where it has started, where it was stopped. So here, this activation record information, it will be stored such type of, to the return address, it has to be stored into the stack area. So like heap, the size of the stack is also not determined at compile time. So that's why we are calling these two as the dynamical managed areas. The heap and stack are the dynamically managed areas because we cannot say what is the size of the objects that are created. They are not known at the compile time. They can known at the runtime only. So that's why we are calling them as the statically or dynamically managed areas. So now here let us see the example of this one. How code generation for simplified procedure calls and returns. So there is we have to focus on the following three address statements. The first one is call, callee. Second is return, third one is a halt, and fourth one is the action. So for example, I am having the main program. In the main program, I am using this one. It has to call the function A. Okay. So after completion of this, it has to end this program. Now I am writing the function A, the code for function A. So here, at some location, it is required to have the return. Okay. So all these parts, what we are calling it as the action part, and there is a return, and the last instruction in the main program is the halt. Okay. So here we are having the call function. The call is there, the halt is there, the return is there, and all these parts, what we are calling them as the action part. Now here, the procedure, the main program is executing. So while it is executing, it is required to call the function A. Immediately the processor switches from main program to the subprogram. That is the function A. Now what is the last instruction in the, so after function A is called, immediately it will execute all these instructions, and finally we are having is the last instruction of any function or the subprogram is the return. Return means it switches from again back to the main program. So where it was stopped, the next instruction it has to execute. From there onwards it has to execute. This address, the next instruction address, it will be stored into the program counter. This program counter value, for example, it is 100, it will be stored into the stack. So once this 100 value, immediately while it is returning from subprogram to the main program, immediately the stack, it puts the value 100 into the program counter. So from there onwards, after call function, we are having the next instruction is at the location 100, that will be executed. This is what we are calling the procedure calls and returns. So the size and layout of activation records are determined by the code generation via the information about names stored in the symbol table. We first illustrate how to store return addresses in the activation record on a procedure call and how return control to it after the procedure call. See here. So here we are implementing the simplest case by using the static allocation. The static allocation, how here? So first instruction is call statement in the intermediate code can be implemented by a sequence of two target machine instructions. One is st and second one is br. So here st callee static area hash here plus 20 br callee dot code area. So st instruction, that means switch to instruction, saves the return address at the beginning of the activation record for callee, and br transfers the control to the target code for the called procedure. So just as we have discussed, so there is a main program, there is a function by the name A. So in function, the last instruction is the return. The main program, it is calling the function call cl. So for example, this is the memory location 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it was allocated. This is the halt, for example. Okay. And this is starting from the addresses 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay. So here from main program to subprogram, how it is storing. So here we are having the program counter will be there. What is program counter? Program counter always keeps the next instruction, which is the address of the next instruction going to be executed. So for example, initially we will start with 1. So after completion of 1, while the 1 is executing, the program counter value will be incremented by 1. So it becomes 2. So now here what is the address in the program counter? 2. When the address in the program counter 2 is 2, when the first instruction, the first line of instruction is executing. So once the second line has started execution, immediately this will become 3 because it has to be incremented by 1. So it means that program counter is 3. That means the second instruction is the second line of instruction, the address at the second instruction is executing. Now coming to the third. What is third? So here after completion of second, it has to execute third. So here while it is executing third, it is automatically incremented by 4 because the next instruction of the third is the 4. So what is in the third instruction? Third instruction is executing now. What is third instruction? It is the call function. What is call? Call means it is switching from main program to the subprogram. While it is switching from main program to the subprogram, it has to return back after completion of the subprogram. It has to come back means it has to execute the fourth instruction because the program counter value is 4. So the address is 4 and here it is 10. So that's why program counter, this value in the program counter, it will be moved onto the stack. So the 4 is moved onto the stack, and now the program counter, it removes 4 and it starts value of 10. Now what is the program counter? The 10. 10 is function A. It executes 11. While it is executing 11, it is the address is 12. So after 12 is completed, it is 13. What is 13? 13 is the return address. What is return address? Return address means it has to switch from subprogram to the main program. So while it is switching from subprogram to the main program, from where it has to execute? It has to execute from the fourth location. So immediately program counter, it takes the 4 value from the stack. It pops the 4 value from the stack and stores in the program counter. Now immediately while the return is there, immediately it switches from subprogram to the main program and executes the fourth instruction. While fourth is executing, the program counter is 5. And what is 5? It is the halt instruction. So immediately it leaves the program. So this is how the ST instruction saves the return address. What is return address in this example? The 4 is the return address at the beginning of the activation record for calling. Once this is happened, immediately the BR transfers the control to the target code for the called procedure calling. Okay, so the whatever I have said that it is described here. The attribute before callee.static area is a constant that gives the address in the beginning of the activation record for a callee. The attribute callee.code area is a constant referring to the address of the first instruction of the called procedure callee in the code area of the runtime memory. The operand hash here plus 20 is the ST instruction in the literal return address. It is the address of the instruction following the BR instruction. We assume that hash here is the address of the current instruction and that 3 constants plus 2 instruction is the calling sequence having the length of 5 words or 20 bytes. So here to elaborate this example, we are having suppose we have the following 3 address code. There are 2 codes here. We are having code for C and code for P. Now here, as we have discussed, there are 4 parts we are having: action, call, halt and return. So every subprogram will have the return address and the last instruction in the main program is the halt. So the first one call action 1. For example, this action 1 is 100. This is 102 or 101. This is 102. This is 103. And the code for P is 201, 202, as we have already discussed. So first, the program counter value will be the 100. So 100 means it is not started executing. So immediately this 100th memory location value, whatever we are having the instruction at the 100, that will be moved to the processor. So 100, while the 100 is working in the processor, immediately the program counter value will be incremented by 1. Okay, so 101. What is 101 means? The program counter value is 101 means 100th instruction, the 100th length instruction or the address at the address 100, whatever the instruction we are having, that is executing. So 101 is program counter. So what is after completion of CPU 100, immediately the value from 101, it will be moved to the CPU. The address 101, whatever the instruction it was there in the 101 will move to the CPU. Immediately this becomes 102. So what is 101 is, while the 101 is executing, the program counter value is 102. Now what is 101? 101 is call P. So immediately call P means it is switching from code for C to code for P. So immediately this value will be stored. This is what we are calling it as the return address. This will be stored into the stack and immediately it switches from main program to the subprogram by incrementing the value and it is setting the value to the 201. Now the 201 is executing 201. So while 201 is executing, it becomes 202. So after completion of 202, it is 202. 201 is completed. Immediately 202 is there. So what is 202? It is the return. So after 202, what you are having? It is not having anything, and the 202 is the return instruction. Immediately after seeing this return, immediately it switches the address from stack 101 is popped and it is stored into the program counter. So once the program counter, again it becomes 101. So it becomes 102. The 102 will be executed and finally 103 will be executed and it will come out of the loop. So this is what we have discussed. So this is about the addresses in the target code. Thank you.